Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. This is our second day of the 12 Days of Christmas, which is we're doing a couple of special episodes and putting one out every day for the 12 Days of Christmas. Today we have Netflix 347th film from 2021. It's the teen rom-com called To All the Boys, Always and Forever. This is directed by Michael Fimognari and stars Lana, Condor and Noah Centineo. I am Jesse and I'm your host. As always, thanks for joining me for this one. This is hopefully a pretty big episode. This is the third and final installment in this series that we have covered over the years on this show as well. So if you're interested in this film, haven't seen the third one yet, I'm sure if you're listening you probably have, but if you haven't, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on, because we will spoil the film as we go, and we start the show with the Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one's about a girl who must work out if she follows her academic dream or the love dream of her life. Oh, so romantic, so romantic. I'm not sure if anyone remembers my takes on the previous films. I haven't been a huge fan of these films, but we'll see. Maybe this one surprises us. We'll see as we go. We do like to talk about how this has ended up on Netflix and what's some sort of facts and information about the film that we can find. So around the world, the title for this film, they're all different takes on the idea of love, and takes on Forever Yours and Forever and Ever and I'll Always Love You and Forever with Love and Now and Forever. So all different takes on that idea. There was one good one. The Chinese translation was Past Continuous Tense of Love. True love is forever. I like that. I think that's quite funny. Anyway, this one did have a couple of working titles. The first working title was To All the Boys I've Loved Before 3. So that makes sense. It's the third film in the series. And the other one was... So the other working title was To All the Boys, Always and Forever, Lara Jean, because I think that's the actual title of the novel that this one is based on. The tagline for this film was, You never know where love will lead you. Yeah, sure. I mean, simple enough, straight enough, makes sense in relation to this film. As we've touched on, this film is based on Jenny Han's 2017 novel, Always and Forever, Lara Jean, and it's a sequel to direct sequel to All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You, which is the third and final installment in this All the Boys series. There is a spin-off series called Exo Kitty, which was released on May 18th, 2023, so there is a chance possibly that Kitty, being Lara Jean's sister, that we might get a series about her, or a film about her very, very soon. The producers for the film, they began work on Always and Forever while the second film, P.S. I Still Love You, was still in production. They hired Katie Lovejoy to write the script of Han's third novel and Michael Fimognari to direct as well. Principal photography began in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada on July 15th, 2019, which was only 2 months after production on the second film had wrapped, although the production was formally announced in August of 2019. Some differences between the book that's based on and the film. In the book, Lara Jean and Peter never have sex, but in the film they do end up doing so. And the author did say that she was happy they did because it helped to bond the characters. So I think, we'll talk probably a little bit in a second, but the author's pretty impressed. I'm pretty happy with the adaptations of her work. Another difference, I guess, is that in the film, we see that the family go to Korea very quickly at the start of the film. They go to find their father and their mother, who's passed away, their love lock that was on the tower in Seoul in Korea. But in the book, the family actually go to Korea to spend time with their grandma. So that's a little bit of a different sort of take on the film. Jenny Han, the author of the book, said, and this is about a behind-the-scenes sort of thing. So she said, one of the cool behind-the-scenes moments is that they lit up the Empire State Building in New York in their colors, teal, magenta, and yellow. She said it's something that people might not notice in the background of the scene where Lara Jean is looking over the whole city, but that for her, as a New Yorker, was really cool. A moment that she could look up and know that it was lit up for us. That's a nice little thing to sort of hear about the film too. Lara Condor, she said, it's Lana Condor, said her final day of filming actually took place in Korea, and she said that was the hardest day when I wrapped. She said, I wrapped in Korea, so it was like 4 a.m., but I don't think it will hit me until the movie is out. I feel like I've made my peace with this ending, something that's taken up a huge part of my life. But I don't think it will actually hit me until it's out, and then I'm going to cry for days. So obviously these characters and these stories mean quite a bit to her as well. When the film was released, it was the most watched title in its debut weekend and the fourth most in its second weekend on Netflix. Netflix reported that the film was watched by 51 million households during the first quarter of release. So I'm guessing Netflix would have been pretty happy with that. It was released on Netflix on the 12th of February 2021, just in time for Valentine's Day. Sort of touched on this, but it did film in Canada, New York City, Korea from July 15th through to the 20th of August 2019. Did have 2 wins and 2 nominations across the award circuit that year. It was nominated at the Leo Awards for the Best Production Design and at the Guild of Music Supervisors Awards for the Best Songwriter or Recorded Song for Television, which was the song Beginning, Middle and End, which plays a big part in this film as well. It did win Best Movie at the MTV Movie TV Awards that year, and it won Best Music Supervision for a television movie at the Guild of Music Supervisors Awards too. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? So Rotten Tomatoes sits at 79% on 72 reviews. That is certified fresh, so pretty positive. The audience has it a little bit lower on 58%. That's on more than 250 ratings. If we head on over to IMDb, it's got 35,000 ratings. Sits at a 6.3 out of 10, so decent score there. Letterboxd 2.6 out of 5, so a little bit on that low side, but the numbers on here are pretty huge. 175,800 people have rated it, but it's actually been logged by 304,000 people. Crazy. Metacritic sits at a 65 out of 100. That is on 19 critic reviews, so that is green on their traffic light system of green, yellow, or red, and the audience, it's also green, sits at a 6.1 out of 10 on 23 reviews. So overall, you'd say, a little bit on that positive side for this film. What about my early thoughts? What am I thinking about this film? These films, they're always going to be big episodes for us because these are big films, so I don't want to disappoint with my take. It's a fine film. It's just like the second one. It's not groundbreaking, but it's nice to see a conclusion to this couple who we've spent some time with over a few films, I guess is a nice way of putting it. But let's talk about those characters. So Lara Jean, and I think I did this last time on one of the episodes as well. I kept referring to her as Lara Jane, but it's Lara Jean. Lara Jean. She still likes to bake cookies. She's still head over heels in love with Peter, but this time the stress is about not being able to go to the same college as him. Her control issues are still evident, but this is a film about her inner strength, I guess, and her ability to make the decisions that support herself and what she actually wants or what she needs in life too, while still trying to maintain that relationship with Peter too, who we know has been accepted into his college based on his athletic abilities rather than his intellect, which is something that Lara Jean is really striving for. We see in this film, and we know that in the past, he's got an issue with his daddy issues, but that issue of dealing with that absent father, because he pops up a lot in this film as well, and that idea about whether they can forge a relationship or not, that does play a good role in this film too. The sisters, Lara Jean's sister, so Margot is her older sister who we know had to make a choice to travel away for study and offers that idea of what Lara Jean doesn't want to be, and she does pop up in a few moments in this film too. And Kitty, the younger sister, I guess, she's often mentioned as the comedic relief in these films, and I guess the interesting thing for her in this film is that she discovers boys, and she starts this long-distance relationship with this boy that she meets in Korea, which almost highlights to Lara Jean that it can be hard when she's contemplating that idea about having to have a long-distance relationship with Peter. But that idea, it can work too. Trina is, the girl's dad, Dan, his girlfriend that he proposes to in this one. It's nice that she's been accepted by the girls, and she does give some good advice throughout, so a nice little side character in this film too. And then the social interactions, I guess, that Lara Jean has. Her best friend, Chris, who's literally there for every moment that Lara Jean needs someone to cry to or cry on their shoulder or get advice from. Trevor's her love interest, who's after her the whole film. She does give in, but only until she follows her dream to go to Costa Rica, and that's very clear that's how that's going to go. And then we see Jen as well. Jen's back. Her and Lara Jean have put their differences aside. They become close again because this is over their connection, I guess, with New York City and NYU. So a nice little side thing or side character in this film too. The director, Michael Fimognari. Obviously, these All the Boys films are his most well-known work. But as a cinematographer, has done an awful lot on a lot of Mike Flanagan's work. So you know Mike Flanagan from the Netflix original film Gerald's Game, which is in turn adapted from a Stephen King story. We did an episode on that quite a while ago, but yeah, go listen to that one as well. But he's also worked on another King adaptation by Flanagan, Doctor Sleep, as well as that Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House 2. So knows how to use a camera is what I'd say. Let's talk about some scenes. What are some scenes that stood out? What are some scenes in this one that I wasn't necessarily a big fan of? We'll start with the good ones. The opening in Korea was great. It just was vivid. It was nice to see Lara Jean connecting to, her past or her mother's culture. It just would have been nice if they spent some more time there, I think, because the idea of sisterhood and spending time with your family while acknowledging that their dad has moved on, but also that their mum has a place in their heart. That was really nice too. We did get some Spice Girls music. Wannabe, that was a banger of a song. Enjoyed that. Trina, the stepmom to be, gives Lara Jean some advice when she's sad and sort of tells her, you can't call in sick for a relationship and that she should enjoy her hot boyfriend. I thought that was quite funny and quite a nice little moment between the two as well. New York City gets the postcard treatment. Makes you miss the city. If you've ever been to New York, watching this film will definitely make you reminisce about some of the places and how enticing that city can be too. So you almost feel how Lara Jean's feeling when she sees New York City for the first time. There's a scene where Peter's in the car telling Lara Jean about how he hates his dad and misses him, but hates that he misses him as well. I thought that was a really good moment. Good from Centineo there. Kitty, the sister, her long-distance relationship. There's a scene where she's watching baseball, which looks so weird, but the idea is that she's doing it so she can get her boyfriend in Korea to watch Harry Potter because he doesn't like Harry Potter. I thought that was quite funny. We do have a scene where Peter and his dad sort of rekindle. They sit in this diner and Peter sort of tells him, you can't act like a dad when you haven't been there, and that Peter feels sorry that there's, or he doesn't feel sorry, but he's sorry that there's a disconnect between them. And then the dad sort of, goes into this moment where he's like, I'm sorry, I screwed up because I didn't try hard enough. That was a nice moment. I thought that was good too. The tent at the end of the film, the end of the wedding, Peter and Lara Jean, they find their song, they understand each other. That was nice, as well as the final credits that followed on with the flashbacks from all the films, just to sort of remind you that these characters have gone through so much together too. I thought that was good. Things that I didn't like. Prom proposals. I mean, obviously it's a very American thing, the prom. I thought the visual ideas of the ones in this film were pretty lame. Who really cares, to be honest? And the actual prom too, it just dragged. It was so boring, especially the dancing, just went on way too long. They're just my negative. I thought there'd probably be more criticisms, but maybe because the characters and what you expect from this film, you can't be angry with knowing what to expect. What are the themes, the ideas, the motifs in this film? The idea of Koreanness too. I mean, that ties in with Lara Jean and the idea of fitting in and belonging and identity and working out who you are too, but also the other side of things of dealing with the loss of a parent and the other parent who's still around, finding new love and how hard it can be to be happy for them too. College is obviously the big part of this third film, but the stress and the fear and frustration of making the right choice and career paths, they're hard to identify. Or the idea of the distance that you can have if you move away. But you've got to do what's best for you and what you want to in staying true to yourself as well. New York City, falling in love with that city and what it can offer too, and that ties in too with love. You've got to fight for love, but it can also be all-consuming. And in love, it is okay to have differences because telling the truth does make it easier. And how can love survive through distance unless you're truthful or honest with each other too? What did I take away from this one? There's this line where Lara Jean gets back from her trip to Korea with her family and tells Peter, she's giving him all these gifts and says, it's hard to find socks in your size. Yes, you get that idea that Asian people have smaller clothes sizes or sock sizes or shoe sizes. But realistically, to me, this was a really clever line because I reckon every girl watching this film wants to know how big his appendage is. So I just thought that was a clever little line, quite humorous. Some questions, some pondering, some ideas, some thoughts on this one. Not too much, just a couple of little things. College, this is a big idea. You work through your whole school life to go to college. It's also expensive. We know that Peter's getting it for free. So how is Lara Jean paying for it? They don't really touch on it, but I thought it's an interesting sort of thing to ponder about as well. Lara Jean and Peter, when they're on that school trip in New York City, they sneak out at night because they think they won't be noticed because the teachers will all be wasted at bars at night. Oh, as a teacher, how I wish this is true. I'm not sure if the American system's different, but there is no way that is happening in Australia. The only other thing, there's this line about New York City and about how New York has lots of movies set in the city and San Francisco doesn't. I'd call bull on that. Like I've seen so many films about Alcatraz and even TV shows, and you think about Full House and you think about there's so much to do in San Francisco, so many films that are focused in the Bay Area that I just thought that was a very weird line for a film. Maybe they were talking specifically about rom-coms, I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm ready to wrap this one up. We give the film a rating out of 5. For me, like this will hit all the right spots for fans of the series. There's no question about that. The leads are enjoyable to watch, but this doesn't stray too far from any film you've seen where someone stresses over going to college with the love of their life and then having to deal with the distance if they don't end up in college together. Not very original. 2.5 out of 5 for me. Not a horrible score. 2.5 is fine. We're on socials. We have Facebook. We have Instagram. And we have X, formerly known as Twitter. The question for today's episode that I wanted to put out there is, will Lara Jean and Peter stay together? Are they going to stay together? Will they? Will they? Won't they? Who knows? I'm intrigued. I haven't read obviously there's that follow-up book about Kitty, and I'm sure there's some mention of it in that story somewhere, but I'm intrigued. If they do another film, will they stay together? I'm pretty sure they will, based on how the other 3 films have gone. It's still December. We're still going to put out an episode every day in these 12 days of Christmas, so we're back tomorrow with an international film from 2021. It's the Indonesian drama called G's and Ann. This one's directed by Rizky Balki and stars Junior Roberts, Hagini, and Roy Sungkono. Interesting Indonesian drama. I've done a few Indonesian films recently, so we'll see how this one goes. As always, thanks for hanging out, and I will see you tomorrow.